September 7, 1996. Las Vegas, Nevada. 11:15 p.m. A white Cadillac pulls up next to a black BMW at the intersection of Flamingo Road and Koval Lane, just off the Las Vegas Strip. In the BMW is one of the most famous rappers in the world, Tupac Shakur. Someone in the Cadillac opens fire. 13 shots pierce the night. 4 bullets hit Tupac. One strikes him in the chest, puncturing his lung. The BMW speeds away. The Cadillac disappears into the Las Vegas night. 6 days later, on September 13th, 1996, Tupac Shakur dies from his injuries. He was 25 years old. The shooting happened on one of the busiest streets in Las Vegas. There were dozens of witnesses. There were people in cars all around. This wasn't a dark alley or a remote location. This was the Las Vegas Strip on a Saturday night. And yet, for 27 years, no one was arrested. No one was charged. The murder of one of the most famous artists in the world remained unsolved. Who killed Tupac Shakur? Was it a gang hit? Was it the East Coast/West Coast rivalry? Was it personal revenge? Or was it something else entirely? In September 2023, 27 years after the murder, police finally made an arrest. But the case is far from closed. The questions remain. The controversy continues. And the truth may be even more complex than anyone imagined. This is the story of Tupac Shakur's murder, one of the most famous unsolved cases in American history. This is Untold Cold Cases Files. The murder of Tupac Shakur isn't just a cold case. It's a cultural event that has haunted hip-hop, law enforcement, and American popular culture for nearly 3 decades. This case has everything. One of the most influential artists of all time, gang connections, the violent East Coast/West Coast hip-hop rivalry, multiple suspects, conspiracy theories ranging from plausible to wild, an investigation plagued by non-cooperation and alleged corruption, and a recent arrest that may finally bring some answers, or may raise even more questions. Before we begin, I need to acknowledge several things. First, this case involves real people, Tupac's family, friends, and loved ones who have lived with this loss for 27 years. This video approaches the case with respect for Tupac's legacy and those who loved him. Second, this case involves gang culture and violence. We'll discuss these elements factually and objectively, without glorifying violence. Third, in September 2023, Dwayne "Kefty" Davis was arrested and charged with Tupac's murder. As of this recording, the case is ongoing. We'll discuss the evidence and allegations, but everyone is presumed innocent until proven guilty. If you have any information about Tupac Shakur's murder, please contact Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. Now, let's go back to 1996 to understand who Tupac was, what led to that night in Las Vegas, and why this case has remained unsolved for so long. Before we dive deep into this case, I need you to understand something. This case was cold for 27 years, but it's now active again. The 2023 arrest happened because information came to light, because people talked, because the case stayed in the public consciousness. Here's what I need you to do right now. First, subscribe to Untold Cold Cases Files immediately. This case is active and ongoing. New developments are happening. Court proceedings are underway. When you subscribe, you'll be notified when we cover updates, the trial, and any new revelations. You need to be part of this community as this historic case unfolds. Hit subscribe now. Second, like this video right now. This isn't just a story from the past. This is happening now. When this video gets high engagement, YouTube pushes it to people interested in hip-hop history, people who were in Las Vegas in 1996, people who might have information they haven't shared. Your like helps this video reach people who might still have pieces of the puzzle. Click that like button. Third, commit to sharing this video. Tupac's murder is one of the most famous unsolved cases in modern history. Millions of people care about this case, but not everyone knows about the 2023 arrest and ongoing developments. Share this video on every platform. Post it in hip-hop communities. Send it to anyone who loves Tupac's music or cares about justice. This case is finally moving forward after 27 years. Let's make sure the world is watching. Now let's talk about who Tupac Shakur was, because to understand his murder, you need to understand his life. Tupac Amaru Shakur wasn't just a rapper. He was a poet, an actor, an activist, and one of the most influential cultural figures of the 1990s. Tupac was born on June 16, 1971, in East Harlem, New York City. His birth name was Lesane Parrish Crooks, but his mother renamed him Tupac Amaru Shakur shortly after birth. His mother, Afeni Shakur. Afeni was a member of the Black Panther Party. She was politically active and raised Tupac with Black Panther ideology. She was pregnant with Tupac while in jail on bombing charges. She was acquitted. She struggled with addiction, but was a major influence on Tupac's worldview. She gave Tupac his strong sense of social justice and activism. His childhood. Tupac grew up in poverty, moving frequently, lived in New York, Baltimore, and eventually California. Despite poverty, Afeni encouraged his artistic side. He attended Baltimore School for the Arts, where he studied acting, poetry, jazz, and ballet. At school, he met Jada Pinkett, later Jada Pinkett Smith. They remained close friends for life. Moving to California. In 1988, Tupac's family moved to Marin City, California, near San Francisco. This move would change his life. He began his music career in the Bay Area, joined the rap group Digital Underground as a backup dancer and rapper, started developing his own style and voice. The West Coast would become his home and identity. Early career, 1991 to 1993. 1991, first solo album. Released Tupacalypse Now in 1991. The album addressed social issues, police brutality, poverty, racism. It was controversial, but established Tupac as a serious artist with a message. Critics praised his intelligence and social consciousness. His persona. Tupac was multifaceted, intelligent, articulate, passionate. He could discuss political philosophy one moment and street life the next. He embodied contradictions, thug and poet, violent and sensitive, angry and compassionate. This complexity made him compelling and relatable. Acting career. Tupac also pursued acting. Appeared in films like Juice, 1992, Poetic Justice, 1993, Above the Rim, 1994. He was a talented actor, not just a rapper trying to act. He had movie star charisma. By the mid-1990s, Tupac was becoming one of the biggest names in hip-hop. Hit albums. Strictly for My Niggaz. 1993. Me Against the World, 1995. Went to #1 while Tupac was in prison. His music resonated with millions. Anthems of struggle, defiance, and survival. His message spoke about life in poor Black communities. Addressed police brutality, systemic racism, inequality. Also rapped about street life, violence, and conflict. His music was raw, honest, and often controversial. Tupac's life was increasingly marked by legal problems. 1993, shooting incident. Shot 2 off-duty police officers in Atlanta. They were harassing a Black motorist. Charges were eventually dropped. Incident highlighted Tupac's confrontational approach to injustice. 1994, sexual assault case. Accused of sexual assault in New York. Tupac maintained his innocence, but was convicted. Sentenced to prison in 1995. He always claimed he was set up. On November 30th, 1994, something happened that would change Tupac's life and set events in motion that many believe led to his death. What happened? Tupac was in New York to record at Quad Studios. He was ambushed in the lobby by armed men. He was shot 5 times and robbed. He survived, but was seriously injured. Why this matters? Tupac believed people he knew were involved in setting him up. He suspected East Coast rappers, including Biggie Smalls, the Notorious B.I.G., and Sean Puffy Combs, had prior knowledge. Biggie and Puffy were at the studio that night, upstairs recording. Tupac felt betrayed. He and Biggie had been friends. The aftermath. Tupac checked himself out of the hospital against medical advice. Showed up to court the next day in a wheelchair. This incident fueled his paranoia and anger. The East Coast/West Coast rivalry intensified. While in prison for the sexual assault conviction, Tupac's career took a fateful turn. Suge Knight and Death Row Records. Marion Suge Knight was the CEO of Death Row Records. Death Row was the dominant West Coast hip-hop label. Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg. Suge posted Tupac's $1.4 million bail in exchange for Tupac signing with Death Row. Tupac was released from prison in October 1995. Why this was significant? Death Row had connections to the Bloods gang, specifically the Mob Piru set. Suge Knight was known for intimidation and violence. Signing with Death Row put Tupac deeper into the gang world. It also intensified the East Coast/West Coast rivalry. Tupac's last year alive was incredibly productive, but increasingly dangerous. All Eyes on Me, 1996. Released in February 1996. Double album, massive success. Went diamond, 10 million copies sold. Established Tupac as a superstar. Songs became anthems. The persona shift. After joining Death Row, Tupac's image became more aggressive. He adopted the thug life persona more fully. He became increasingly confrontational. The violence in his music and public statements intensified. The East Coast attacks. Tupac began publicly attacking East Coast rappers. He accused Biggie of being involved in the Quad Studios shooting. He released diss tracks targeting Biggie, Puffy, and others. The rivalry became personal and dangerous. His final months. Recording new music constantly. Making movies. Planning future projects. But also surrounded by gang members and violence. Living dangerously. Who Tupac was. To understand why Tupac's murder has such impact, you need to understand who he was. As an artist, one of the greatest rappers of all time. Sold over 75 million records worldwide. His music addressed social issues with intelligence and passion. He had crossover appeal, respected in hip-hop and mainstream culture. As a person, complex and contradictory. Could be thoughtful and philosophical. Could be violent and confrontational. Loyal to those he loved. Paranoid about those he didn't trust. Lived intensely. Thug life wasn't just a slogan, it was how he lived. His impact influenced generations of artists. Gave voice to marginalized communities. His music remains relevant decades later. He's a cultural icon beyond just music. By September 1996, Tupac was at the height of his fame, but also at the center of a violent feud. He was 25 years old, successful beyond his wildest dreams, but surrounded by danger. He had survived being shot 5 times in 1994. He had survived prison. He had survived countless conflicts. But his luck was about to run out. On September 7, 1996, Tupac went to Las Vegas for a Mike Tyson boxing match. It should have been a fun night out. Instead, it would be the night he was shot for the final time. And unlike 1994, this time he wouldn't survive. To understand Tupac's murder, you have to understand the East Coast/West Coast rivalry that dominated hip-hop in the mid-1990s. This wasn't just a rap beef. It was a cultural war that turned violent and deadly. Hip-hop was born in New York in the 1970s. For its first 15-plus years, the East Coast, New York, dominated the genre. But by the early 1990s, West Coast hip-hop was rising. West Coast emergence. NWA, Ice Cube, Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg brought West Coast sound to prominence. Gangsta rap from Los Angeles became hugely popular. West Coast artists were outselling East Coast artists. This created tension. New York felt disrespected. It started as artistic competition. Initially, it was about which coast made better music. East Coast claimed authenticity and originality. West Coast claimed relevance and commercial success. It was competitive but not yet violent. The rivalry became personalized around 2 record labels. Death Row Records, West Coast. Founded by Suge Knight and Dr. Dre. Based in Los Angeles. Artists, Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Tupac, from 1995. Connected to the Bloods gang, specifically Mob Piru. Reputation for intimidation and violence. Bad Boy Records, East Coast. Founded by Sean Puffy Combs, now Diddy. Based in New York. Artists, The Notorious B.I.G., Biggie Smalls, Craig Mack, Faith Evans. Connected to the Crips gang through certain associates. More commercially polished, pop-friendly. These 2 labels became the focal point of the rivalry. November 30th, 1994 was the turning point. What happened? Tupac was shot and robbed at Quad Studios in New York. He believed he was set up. Biggie and Puffy were in the building at the time. Tupac's belief. Tupac became convinced that Biggie, Puffy, and others knew about the attack in advance. He felt betrayed. He and Biggie had been friends. He believed the attack was connected to East Coast figures wanting to hurt him. Biggie and Puffy's position. Both denied any knowledge of the attack. They maintained they were innocent. They said they were victims of Tupac's paranoia. The truth. We may never know if Biggie and Puffy had prior knowledge. Later information suggests the attack may have been a robbery attempt by street criminals. But Tupac never believed that. He was convinced of betrayal. After the Quad Studios shooting, the rivalry escalated. Tupac's campaign against Biggie. Tupac began publicly accusing Biggie of involvement. He released diss tracks attacking Biggie. The most infamous, a track where Tupac claimed to have had relations with Biggie's wife, Faith Evans. These attacks were personal, vicious, and public. The media frenzy. Hip-hop media covered every diss track, every interview, every confrontation. The rivalry sold magazines and albums. Media outlets amplified the conflict. What might have been resolved privately became a public spectacle. The stakes increased. Both sides had gang affiliations. Both sides had armed security and entourages. The rhetoric became violent. Threats were made publicly. By 1996, the situation was dangerous. Gang involvement. Death Row was connected to Bloods. Bad Boy had associates connected to Crips. Bloods and Crips are rival gangs, deadly enemies. The rap beef merged with actual gang rivalry. Violence in the air. There had been shootings at hip-hop events. Confrontations between East and West Coast entourages. People were carrying guns. The atmosphere was tense and volatile. Warnings ignored. Some people in the industry tried to calm things down. But the conflict was profitable. Albums sold because of the beef. Neither side wanted to appear weak by backing down. Tupac especially felt he had to maintain his thug image. At the 1995 Source Awards in New York, the tension was palpable. Suge Knight's comments. While accepting an award, Suge Knight took a shot at Puffy Combs. He implied that Puffy was taking too much credit and money from his artists. It was a public disrespect. The crowd, mostly East Coast, reacted angrily. The aftermath. The Source Awards moment became symbolic of the rivalry. It showed that the conflict wasn't just between artists. The executives were involved too. It embarrassed Puffy and made the conflict more personal. Why this matters to Tupac's murder. The East Coast/West Coast rivalry is crucial to understanding Tupac's murder because motive. If Tupac was killed over the rivalry, there were multiple potential suspects. East Coast figures who felt threatened or disrespected. Gang members allied with Bad Boy. People seeking revenge for Tupac's attacks on Biggie. Context. The violence of the rivalry made murder seem possible, even likely. Both sides were armed and dangerous. The rhetoric had escalated to death threats. The environment was one where violence could happen. The aftermath. 6 months after Tupac's murder, Biggie Smalls was murdered in Los Angeles. This convinced many people that the murders were connected to the rivalry. The theory that Tupac's death was retaliation and Biggie's death was revenge became dominant. The East Coast/West Coast rivalry destroyed two of the greatest artists in hip-hop history. Tupac Shakur, killed September 13, 1996. The Notorious B.I.G., killed March 9, 1997. Both were in their 20s. Both had so much more to give. Both were killed in drive-by shootings that remain controversial to this day. The unanswered questions. Was Tupac killed because of the East Coast/West Coast beef? Was his murder ordered by someone associated with Bad Boy Records? Or was it something else entirely? Gang retaliation unrelated to the rap rivalry? To understand what really happened, we need to look at the night of September 7, 1996 in Las Vegas. September 7, 1996. Las Vegas, Nevada. This day would end with Tupac Shakur fighting for his life. Let's reconstruct the events that led to the shooting. Why Tupac was in Las Vegas. Tupac was in Las Vegas for the Mike Tyson versus Bruce Seldon boxing match at the MGM Grand Hotel. The fight. Heavyweight championship fight. Highly anticipated event. Las Vegas was packed with celebrities, high rollers, and fight fans. Tupac was a huge boxing fan and friends with Mike Tyson. Who was with Tupac? Suge Knight, Death Row Records CEO. Various members of Tupac's entourage. Death Row associates. Gang members affiliated with Mob Piru Bloods. Around 7 p.m., Tupac and his group attended the fight at MGM Grand. The fight itself. Mike Tyson knocked out Bruce Seldon in 109 seconds. First round knockout. The fight was over almost as soon as it began. The crowd left the arena. Tupac's mood. He was in good spirits, excited about the knockout, planning to go to Club 662, a nightclub Suge Knight had ownership in, looking forward to a night out in Vegas. After the fight, Tupac and his entourage were in the MGM Grand Lobby. This is where things took a fateful turn. In the lobby, someone in Tupac's group pointed out a man, Orlando Baby Lane Anderson. Who was Orlando Anderson? Member of the South Side Compton Crips from Los Angeles. Had gang ties that made him an enemy of Death Row's Blood affiliates. Why he was targeted? Earlier, possibly weeks before, Anderson or associates have been involved in an incident where a Death Row chain medallion was stolen. This was a major disrespect in gang culture. Stealing someone's chain is a direct challenge and humiliation. What happened in the lobby? Tupac and several others confronted Anderson. Words were exchanged. Then Tupac and others physically attacked Anderson. They beat him in the lobby. This was captured on MGM Grand security cameras. The beating. Anderson was outnumbered. He was punched and kicked. The beating lasted less than a minute. Casino security broke it up. Anderson was left on the ground. Anderson's response. Hotel security offered to call police. Anderson declined. He didn't want police involvement, standard gang member response. He left the casino, but he had just been publicly humiliated and beaten. This incident is crucial because many believe it directly led to the shooting. After the lobby fight, Tupac and his group left the MGM Grand. Going back to the hotel, Tupac was staying at the Luxor Hotel. The group went back to change clothes and prepare for the club. The mood. Tupac was still energized from the fight and the confrontation. The beating of Anderson was seen as justified retaliation for the chain snatching. No one seemed to think there would be immediate retaliation. They were focused on going to Club 662. The plan? Head to Club 662 nightclub. Tupac was going to perform. It was a Death Row affiliated venue. Expected to be a big night. Suge Knight and Tupac got into Suge's black BMW 750 sedan. The vehicle. Suge was driving. Tupac was in the front passenger seat. No security in the car with them. This was a mistake. Following them was a convoy of other vehicles with Death Row entourage. The route. They were driving from the Luxor area toward Club 662, taking Las Vegas Boulevard, the Strip, in a convoy of multiple vehicles. Music playing, windows down. Las Vegas on a Saturday night. Busy, crowded streets. At one point, the group was pulled over by police. The traffic stop. The music was too loud. Police pulled over several vehicles in the convoy. Tupac and Suge were in the BMW that was stopped. Tupac didn't have his driver's license on him. The officer's account. Later, the officer said Tupac was cooperative. No issues during the stop. They were given a warning for the loud music. They were allowed to continue. Why this matters? This stop delayed them slightly. It may have affected the timing of what happened next. Some conspiracy theories suggest police involvement because of this stop, though there's no evidence. After the police stop, the convoy continued toward Club 662. At approximately 11:15 p.m., they stopped at a red light at the intersection of Flamingo Road and Koval Lane. The location, just off the Las Vegas Strip. Busy intersection. Multiple lanes of traffic. Cars all around. Pedestrians nearby. The situation. Suge's BMW was stopped at the red light. Tupac was in the passenger seat. The windows were down. Music was playing. Other Death Row vehicles were nearby in the convoy. What happened next? A white Cadillac pulled up on the passenger side of the BMW. The Cadillac stopped next to Tupac's side of the car. Someone in the back seat of the Cadillac had a gun. And then the shooting began. Everything happened in seconds. The attack. Someone in the Cadillac opened fire. Approximately 13 to 14 shots were fired. The shots were aimed at the passenger side, at Tupac. Rapid gunfire. Likely a semi-automatic handgun. Tupac was hit. 4 bullets struck Tupac. He was hit in the chest, arm, and thigh. 1 bullet went through his lung. The injuries were severe. Suge Knight. Suge was grazed by a bullet or hit by shrapnel. Minor injury. He was driving, so he wasn't in the direct line of fire. But he was right there, inches away from Tupac. The Cadillac. After the shooting, the Cadillac sped away. It headed north on Koval Lane. It disappeared into Las Vegas traffic. Multiple vehicles and witnesses were present, but in the chaos, no one got a license plate. Suge's response. Suge Knight drove away from the scene. He didn't go to the nearest hospital. He drove erratically, possibly in shock or panic. Eventually, police stopped him and called an ambulance. Tupac's condition. He was conscious initially. He was talking, but he was bleeding heavily. He knew he'd been shot badly. The scene. Police and ambulances arrived quickly. Witnesses were everywhere. Dozens of people saw the shooting. But getting accurate information was difficult. Chaos, panic, conflicting accounts. Tupac was rushed to University Medical Center. He was taken to the trauma center. Doctors worked to save his life. He underwent multiple surgeries. His lung was severely damaged. He was in critical condition. The following days, September 8th to 12th, in the hospital, Tupac remained in critical condition. He was in and out of consciousness. Doctors induced a medical coma at one point. His family was called to Las Vegas. Fans gathered outside the hospital. The vigil. News of the shooting spread immediately. Hip-hop community was in shock. Fans prayed for his recovery, but his condition wasn't improving. At 4:03 p.m. on Friday, September 13th, 1996, Tupac Shakur was pronounced dead. Cause of death: respiratory failure and cardiac arrest. Results of the gunshot wounds. 6 days after being shot. 25 years old. The world reacts. Hip-hop would devasta. Fans mourned worldwide. Tributes poured in. Conspiracy theories began immediately. The questions. From the moment Tupac was shot, questions emerged. Who was in the white Cadillac? Was it revenge for the Orlando Anderson beating? Was it connected to the East Coast/West Coast rivalry? Why were there no arrests when there were so many witnesses? These questions would remain unanswered for 27 years. We need to pause here because what I'm about to tell you about the investigation is going to make you angry and frustrated. But first, I need to make sure this video reaches as many people as possible because this case finally has movement after 27 years. If you haven't subscribed yet, do it right now. The trial for Tupac's murder is ongoing as of this recording. There will be updates, new information, possibly more arrests. When you subscribe to Untold Cold Cases Files, you'll be notified when we cover the developments. This is history unfolding. Be part of it. Subscribe now. Hit that like button. This video needs to reach hip-hop fans, people who were in Las Vegas in 1996, anyone who might have information. There are still unanswered questions. There are still witnesses who haven't come forward. Your like helps this video reach those people. Click it now. Share this video everywhere. Tupac's legacy matters to millions of people. His murder shaped hip-hop history. Share this in hip-hop communities, music forums, on social media. Let people know the case is finally moving forward. Now let's talk about the investigation and why it failed for so long. The investigation into Tupac Shakur's murder is a case study in how not to investigate a high-profile homicide. From the beginning, the investigation was plagued by problems. The immediate investigation, September 7th to 13th, 1996. Problem number 1. The no-snitching culture. The biggest obstacle from day one was the code of silence. Witnesses wouldn't talk. Dozens of people saw the shooting. The convoy of death row vehicles had multiple people in them. There were other cars stopped at the light. Pedestrians were present, but almost no one cooperated. Gang culture has a strict no-snitching rule. Talking to police is seen as betrayal. Even innocent bystanders were afraid to get involved. People feared retaliation. Tupac himself wouldn't help. While in the hospital, before he lost consciousness, Tupac was questioned by police. He refused to cooperate. When asked who shot him, he reportedly said something dismissive. He lived by the code. Handle it in the streets, not with police. Suge Knight wouldn't cooperate. Suge was right there in the car. He saw everything. He could identify the shooters. But he refused to give police any useful information. He claimed he didn't see who shot Tupac. Problem number 2. Gang affiliations complicated everything. Las Vegas Metropolitan Police were dealing with gang members and gang culture. Death Row's connections. Death Row was affiliated with Bloods. Many people in the convoy were gang members. They operated by street rules, not legal rules. They wanted street justice, not legal justice. The Anderson beating. Police knew about the MGM Grand incident with Orlando Anderson. They had video of the beating. Anderson was an obvious person of interest. But Anderson also wouldn't cooperate. Gang retaliation expected. Police believed if the shooting was gang-related, there would be retaliation. They expected more violence. This created urgency, but also complications. Problem number 3. Las Vegas police were overwhelmed. The Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department faced challenges. Jurisdiction and resources. This was a huge case, international media attention. But Vegas PD's homicide unit was relatively small. They were used to solving gang shootings, not high-profile celebrity murders with worldwide attention. The pressure was enormous. Conflicting accounts. Witnesses gave conflicting descriptions of the Cadillac. Some said it was white, some cream-colored. Descriptions of the occupants varied. No one got a license plate number, or if they did, they didn't tell police. The scene. The shooting happened at a busy intersection. By the time investigators could fully process the scene, evidence was compromised. Shell casings were collected, but there was no gun to match them to. The Cadillac was gone. Problem number 4. Suge Knight's lack of cooperation. Suge Knight was the single most important witness, and he refused to help. What Suge knew? He was driving the car. He was right next to Tupac when the shooting happened. He saw the Cadillac pull up. He likely saw the shooters. He could have solved this case immediately. What Suge said? He claimed he didn't see anything useful. He said he was focused on driving. He gave vague, unhelpful answers to police. Later, he made various statements in media that contradicted each other. Why Suge wouldn't cooperate? Gang code. Handle things in the streets, not through police. He may have wanted street justice, not legal justice. He may have feared for his safety if he talked. He may have had his own agenda or knowledge he didn't want exposed. The impact. Without Suge's cooperation, police lost their best witness. The investigation was severely hampered from day one. This set a pattern for the entire case. Problem number 5. The Orlando Anderson theory. Orlando Anderson quickly became the prime suspect. Why Anderson was suspected? He had been beaten by Tupac and others hours before the shooting. He had motive, revenge for the beating and humiliation. He was a Crip, and the shooting fit gang retaliation patterns. Witnesses placed him in Las Vegas that night. The investigation of Anderson. Las Vegas police wanted to question Anderson. Los Angeles police, Anderson was from LA, also got involved. Anderson was brought in for questioning. Anderson's response. He denied involvement. He had an alibi, though the alibi was from friends/associates who weren't reliable. He refused to cooperate beyond denials. Police couldn't break him. The problem. No physical evidence linked Anderson to the shooting. No gun was found. Witnesses wouldn't identify him. Without evidence or testimony, police couldn't charge him. Problem number 6. The white Cadillac. The getaway vehicle was never found. What police knew? It was a white or cream-colored Cadillac. Late model sedan. Likely had multiple occupants. Someone in the back passenger side fired the shots. The search. Police looked for the Cadillac. Checked impound lots, junkyards, registration databases. Never found it. Theories. The car was ditched/destroyed immediately after the shooting. It may have been a rental or stolen. It may have been taken to Los Angeles or another city. It was likely crushed or hidden so well it's never been found. By late 1996, the investigation had essentially stalled. What police had? Shell casings from the scene. Video of the Orlando Anderson beating. Witness statements, many vague or unhelpful. Knowledge of the gang connections. What police didn't have? Cooperative witnesses. The murder weapon. The getaway car. Physical evidence linking anyone to the shooting. Enough to charge anyone. The reality. Without cooperation, without evidence, the case couldn't move forward. It became a cold case very quickly. 6 months after Tupac's murder, the notorious B.I.G. was killed in Los Angeles. The shooting. March 9, 1997, Los Angeles. Biggie was shot in a drive-by shooting. He died from his injuries. The shooting had similarities to Tupac's murder. The impact on Tupac's case. Many believe the murders were connected. The theory, Tupac's murder was revenge for something. Biggie's murder was revenge for Tupac. Both cases became intertwined in public perception. Both cases remained unsolved. The complication. Now police in 2 cities were investigating connected murders. Theories abounded about who ordered both hits. Conspiracy theories flourished. But neither case was solved. For over 2 decades, Tupac's case remained cold. Periodic reviews. Las Vegas police periodically reviewed the case. New detectives looked at the evidence. But nothing broke the case open. Orlando Anderson's death. In 1998, Orlando Anderson was killed in an unrelated gang shooting in Los Angeles. He died having never been charged with Tupac's murder. Many people believe he took the truth to his grave. Theories and speculation. Books were written about the case. Documentaries were made. Journalists investigated. Countless theories emerged. But no arrests were made. Why the case stayed cold? No new evidence emerged. Key witnesses died or remained silent. The gang code of silence held. Police couldn't break through the wall of non-cooperation. For Tupac's mother, Afeni Shakur, and his family, living without justice. Afeni spent years trying to get justice for her son. She pushed police to investigate. She spoke out about the failure to solve the case. She never got to see her son's killer brought to justice. Afeni died in 2016, 20 years after Tupac's murder, without answers. The pain, knowing who likely did it, but having no proof. Watching the case go cold. Seeing conspiracy theories overshadow the truth. Living with the knowledge that the killers got away with it. Why the investigation failed. Looking back, several factors doomed the investigation. The no-snitching code. Without witnesses willing to talk, police had nothing. Gang culture. Everyone involved operated by street rules, not legal ones. Lack of physical evidence. No gun, no car, no DNA evidence. Suge Knight's silence. The key witness refused to cooperate. Police limitations. Vegas PD was overwhelmed by the scope and attention. Time. As days became weeks became months, evidence degraded and memories faded. By the 2010s, it seemed like Tupac's murder would never be solved. The case was 20-plus years old. Key witnesses had died. The trail was ice cold. But in 2018, something changed. New information came to light. And in 2023, an arrest was finally made. The question is, why did it take 27 years? For 27 years, people have theorized about who killed Tupac Shakur. Let's examine the major theories, the evidence for each, and which one appears to be true. Theory 1. Gang retaliation for the Orlando Anderson beating. Orlando Anderson, along with other Southside Compton Crips, killed Tupac in retaliation for the beating at the MGM Grand. Evidence supporting this theory. Clear motive. Orlando Anderson was publicly beaten and humiliated. In gang culture, this requires retaliation. The shooting happened hours after the beating. Perfect timing for revenge. Gang connection. Anderson was a Crip. Death Row was affiliated with Bloods. Crips and Bloods are deadly enemies. Gang retaliation fits the pattern. The timeline. Anderson had time to organize a response. He could have gotten a gun, found associates, and gone looking for Tupac. The timing of the shooting, a few hours later, fits this theory. Orlando Anderson was the prime suspect. Las Vegas police focused on Anderson immediately. He was questioned multiple times. He had motive, opportunity, and capability. Evidence against this theory. Anderson denied involvement. He was questioned but never charged. He maintained his innocence until his death in 1998. No physical evidence linked him to the shooting. Where was the proof? If Anderson did it, where's the evidence? Where's the gun, the car, the witnesses? Police couldn't build a case. Recent developments. In 2023, someone else was arrested. We'll discuss this shortly. That person has implicated Orlando Anderson as one of the shooters. This theory now appears to be true according to the 2023 arrest. Likelihood, very high, now appears to be confirmed. Theory 2. Bad Boy Records / East Coast retaliation. People associated with Bad Boy Records, Sean Puffy Combs, Biggie Smalls, order a hit on Tupac in retaliation for his attacks on them in the East Coast. Evidence supporting this theory. Motive. Tupac had been viciously attacking Biggie and Puffy. He accused them of setting him up in the 1994 shooting. The attacks were personal and damaging. They had motive to silence him. The rivalry was deadly. The East Coast / West Coast beef had turned violent. People were getting hurt. Murder was not out of the question. Timing. The shooting happened at the height of the rivalry. Just months before, tensions were at their worst. Some investigative theories. Some journalists and investigators have suggested bad boy involvement. Books have been written alleging this theory. Evidence against this theory. No direct evidence. No evidence has ever linked Puffy, Biggie, or Bad Boy to the shooting. No witnesses have come forward. No confessions or proof. Distance. Bad Boy was based in New York. Tupac was shot in Las Vegas. How would they have organized a hit in Vegas on short notice? Biggie's murder. Biggie was killed 6 months later in L.A. If Bad Boy ordered Tupac's hit, why would Biggie be in L.A. without protection? Doesn't make sense if he was involved. Police don't believe this theory. Las Vegas police never seriously pursued this angle. FBI investigated and found no evidence. The 2023 arrest had nothing to do with Bad Boy. Likelihood, very low, essentially debunked. This theory was popular in the 1990s to 2000s, but has been largely discredited. The 2023 arrest proves it was gang-related, not Bad Boy-related. Theory 3. Suge Knight was involved. Suge Knight, Death Row CEO, was involved in or orchestrated Tupac's murder. Evidence supporting this theory. Tupac was leaving Death Row. Rumor was that Tupac wanted to leave Death Row. He was forming his own label. Suge would lose his biggest star and massive money. Suge had motive to stop him. Suge's behavior after the shooting. Suge refused to cooperate with police. His statements were evasive. He showed little emotion about losing his biggest star. This seemed suspicious to many. The shot pattern. All shots were fired at the passenger side, at Tupac. Suge was barely grazed. Some theorized the shooter was told to hit Tupac, but not Suge. Suge's criminal history. Suge was known for violence and intimidation. He had connections to dangerous people. He was capable of ordering a hit. Evidence against this theory. Makes no business sense. Tupac was Death Row's biggest star. He was making Suge millions of dollars. Why kill your golden goose? Suge was in the car. Suge was right next to Tupac when the shooting happened. He could have been killed. Why would he put himself in that danger? Gang retaliation makes more sense. The Orlando Anderson beating provides a clear motive. The timing, hours after the beating, fits gang retaliation. No need for complex conspiracy theories. The 2023 arrest debunks this. The recent arrest points to gang members, not Suge. No evidence has emerged implicating Suge. Likelihood, low, essentially debunked. While Suge's behavior was suspicious, there's no evidence he was involved. This theory doesn't fit the facts as we now know them. Theory 4. Government/FBI conspiracy. The U.S. government or FBI killed Tupac because he was a political threat. His mother was a Black Panther. He spoke out about police brutality, etc. Evidence supporting this theory. Tupac's background. His mother was a Black Panther. He was politically outspoken. He criticized police and government. The FBI had monitored him. Historical precedent. The FBI did target Black Panthers and activists. COINTELPRO was real. The government has killed activists before. Evidence against this theory. No evidence. No documents. No whistleblowers. No proof of any kind. Just speculation. Makes no sense. By 1996, Tupac was more focused on music than political activism. He was making party music and gangsta rap, not revolutionary anthems. If the government wanted to silence him, why wait until he was in Vegas? The 2023 arrest shows it was gang-related. Recent developments prove it was local gang members, not government conspiracy. Likelihood, extremely low, no evidence. This is a conspiracy theory with no basis in fact. Theory 5. Tupac faked his death. Tupac didn't actually die. He faked his death and is living in hiding. Evidence supporting this theory. People want to believe. Tupac was beloved. Fans didn't want him to be dead. The idea of him being alive is comforting. Alleged sightings. People claim to have seen Tupac after 1996. Photos and videos are analyzed. Music released after death. Albums were released after his death. Some fans think this means he's alive. Evidence against this theory. He's dead. Medical records confirm his death. Autopsy was performed. He was cremated. His family buried him. The music was recorded before he died. Tupac recorded constantly. There was unreleased material. That's what was released after his death. The 2023 arrest confirms he's dead. Someone is being charged with his murder. You can't be charged with killing someone who's alive. Likelihood, 0, he's dead. This is a fantasy, not a theory. The most likely scenario, now confirmed by 2023 arrest. Based on the 2023 arrest and confession, here's what appears to have happened. Orlando Anderson, along with other Southside Compton Crips, killed Tupac Shakur in retaliation for the beating at the MGM Grand. The shooting was organized quickly within hours of the beating. The shooters were in a white Cadillac. Orlando Anderson was one of the shooters, possibly the trigger man. Another Crip, Dwayne "Kefty" Davis, was also in the car and helped organize the shooting. Why it took 27 years to make an arrest. The no-snitching code held for decades. No one would cooperate with police. But in 2018 to 2019, Kefty began talking publicly about the shooting. He gave interviews and wrote about it. He essentially confessed. Police finally had enough to make an arrest. We'll discuss the 2023 arrest in detail next. On September 29, 2023, 27 years and 16 days after Tupac was shot, Las Vegas Metropolitan Police arrested Dwayne "Kefty" Davis and charged him with murder. This is the first and only arrest ever made in connection with Tupac Shakur's murder. Who is Kefty? Dwayne "Kefty" Davis, member of the Southside Compton Crips, from Los Angeles, uncle of Orlando Anderson, was in Las Vegas the night of the shooting. His connection to the case. He was there. Kefty admits he was in the white Cadillac. He was in the front passenger seat. 3 other people were in the car with him. One of them shot Tupac. His role, according to his own statements, he helped organize the retaliation. After Orlando Anderson was beaten, Kefty and others wanted revenge. They got a gun. They got the Cadillac. They went looking for Tupac. Why wasn't he arrested earlier? For 27 years, Kefty stayed silent. Like everyone else involved, he followed the no-snitching code. But starting around 2008 to 2009, things changed. Kefty got cancer. He was diagnosed with cancer, faced his mortality, decided he wanted to tell his story. He started talking, gave interviews to media outlets, spoke to filmmakers working on documentaries, eventually wrote a memoir. In these interviews and the book, he discussed the shooting. What Kefty said. In various interviews and his memoir, Kefty provided details about the night. The MGM Grand beating. He confirmed Orlando Anderson was beaten by Tupac and others. He said this required retaliation in gang culture. Getting the gun. Kefty said they obtained a gun after the beating. The plan was to find Tupac and retaliate. The shooting. Kefty admitted he was in the Cadillac. He said there were 4 people in the car. Himself, Orlando Anderson, and 2 others, Terrence T. Brown and DeAndre Dre Smith. He said the car pulled up next to the BMW. He said someone in the back seat fired the shots. Who pulled the trigger? Kefty has given varying accounts. Sometimes he implied Orlando Anderson was the shooter. Sometimes he implied it was someone else in the back seat. He's been vague about who exactly pulled the trigger, but he admits he was there and involved. The proffer agreement. Here's where it gets complicated. Kefty's deal. In 2008 to 2009, Kefty spoke to police as part of a proffer agreement. This is also called a Queen for a Day agreement. It means you can talk to police and what you say can't be used against you criminally, with some exceptions. The idea is to get information to solve crimes, with the witness getting immunity. What he told police. Under this agreement, Kefty told police about the shooting. He gave details about what happened. He essentially confessed to being involved. But because of the proffer agreement, he thought he couldn't be charged. The problem. The other people in the car that night are dead. Orlando Anderson, killed in 1998. Terrence T. Brown, killed in 2015. DeAndre Dre Smith, killed in the early 2000s. Kefty is the only one still alive. Why the 2023 arrest happened. So if Kefty talked to police in 2008 to 2009, why wasn't he arrested until 2023? The proffer agreement complications. Prosecutors had to determine if they could use his statements against him. Proffer agreements have limits. If you lie during a proffer, or if you later publicly discuss the crime, the agreement can be voided. Kefty did public interviews and wrote a book. This may have voided the agreement. Public statements. Kefty gave media interviews where he discussed the shooting. He went on documentaries. He essentially confessed publicly. These public statements were not protected by the proffer agreement. New evidence. Police conducted new searches in July 2023. They search a home connected to Kef D's family. They may have found additional evidence, details not fully public. Grand jury. A grand jury reviewed the evidence. They indicted Kef D for murder. The indictment was sealed until the arrest. The arrest. September 29, 2023. Kef D was arrested at his home in Henderson, Nevada, near Las Vegas. He was charged with murder with a deadly weapon and gang enhancement. Kef D is charged with murder, conspiracy to commit murder, gang enhancement, which increases potential sentence. Why murder if he didn't pull the trigger? Under Nevada law, in most states, you could be charged with murder even if you didn't personally pull the trigger. If you're part of a conspiracy to commit murder, you're guilty of murder. Kef D admits he was in the car and helped plan the shooting. That makes him legally culpable for Tupac's death. As of this recording, the case is ongoing. Kef D's defense. He has pleaded not guilty. His lawyers argue the proffer agreement should protect him. His statements were coerced or misunderstood. There's insufficient evidence to convict. He was just talking/bragging, not actually confessing. Prosecution's case. They have Kef D's own words, interviews, book statements. They have his admission he was in the car. They have evidence from the investigation. They argue his public statements voided any immunity. They believe they can prove he was part of the murder. Bail. Kef D was initially held without bail. Later, a judge set bail at $750,000. As of latest reports, he's been unable to post bail and remains in custody. The trial date. The trial has been scheduled and postponed multiple times. As of this recording, it's expected to proceed in 2024. The trial will be closely watched. What this means for the case. This is the first arrest in 27 years. It finally brings some movement to the case. Whether Kef D is convicted remains to be seen. For Tupac's family, they finally see someone facing charges. But it's been 27 years. Tupac's mother Afeni died without seeing this. The family wants justice, but this arrest is bittersweet. For the truth, Kef D's trial may reveal more details about the shooting. We may finally get a full account of what happened. Or we may get more questions than answers. What about the others in the car? Orlando Anderson, T. Brown, and Dre are all dead. They'll never face justice. If one of them was the actual trigger man, he died without being charged. What about anyone who helped? Were there others who helped plan or cover up the shooting? Will more arrests come? So far, Kef D is the only one charged. Even with the arrest, questions remain. Why did it take 27 years? Kef D talked to police in 2008 to 2009. Why wait until 2023 to arrest him? Was it legal issues with the proffer agreement? Was it lack of evidence until the 2023 search? Will he be convicted? Having charges filed is one thing. Getting a conviction is another. Will a jury convict based on his statements? Will the defense successfully argue immunity? Will we ever know the full truth? Even if Kef D is convicted, the exact details may remain murky. Who pulled the trigger? Was anyone else involved? What exactly happened in those critical moments? After 27 years, someone is finally being held accountable for Tupac Shakur's murder. Whether Kef D is convicted or acquitted, this arrest represents a major development in one of the most famous cold cases in American history. For Tupac's fans, family, and everyone who cared about justice, this is a moment they've waited decades for, but also highlights how long injustice can persist when witnesses refuse to cooperate and when the code of silence holds. Tupac Shakur has been dead for 27 years, but his impact on music, culture, and society continues to this day. Tupac's artistic legacy. The music. Tupac's discography remains influential. Albums. Released 5 studio albums during his lifetime. Multiple posthumous albums released after his death. Over 75 million records sold worldwide. His music continues to be discovered by new generations. His style. Raw, emotional, honest. Mixed social commentary with street tales. Could be thoughtful and violent in the same song. His voice and delivery were unique and powerful. Influence. Influenced countless rappers who came after him. Artists from Eminem to Kendrick Lamar cite him as an influence. His approach to rap, emotional vulnerability mixed with aggression, became a template. Timeless. Songs like Dear Mama, Changes, California Love, Ambitions as a Writer, Hail Mary, and dozens more remain classics. His music addresses themes, racism, poverty, police brutality, struggle, that remain relevant. New listeners discover him every year. Tupac's film career was cut short, but he showed real talent. Appeared in films like Juice, Poetic Justice, Above the Rim, gang-related. He had natural screen presence. Many believe he could have become a major film star if he'd lived. Tupac was also a poet. Wrote poetry from a young age. His poems have been published posthumously. They reveal his sensitive, thoughtful side. They show his intelligence and depth. The thug life ethos. Tupac popularized thug life as a concept. What it meant. To Tupac, thug wasn't just a criminal. It was someone who survived despite the system being against them. Thug life was an acronym. The hate you give little infants, F*********, S everybody. It was about how society creates the conditions for violence and then condemns those who engage in it. The impact. The concept influenced hip-hop culture. It was misunderstood by many as glorifying violence. But to Tupac, it was social commentary. Tupac used his platform to speak on social issues. Topics he addressed. Police brutality, decades before #Black Lives Matter. Systemic racism. Poverty and inequality. The struggles of black communities. Single mothers and family struggles. His approach. He didn't shy away from controversial topics. He spoke his truth, even when it was unpopular. He gave voice to communities that felt unheard. Tupac became more than a rapper. He became an icon. His image. The bandana, the tattoos, the intensity. His face on murals, t-shirts, posters worldwide. A symbol of resistance, struggle, and authenticity. In death, he became larger than life. The circumstances of his death added to his legend. The conspiracy theories kept his name alive. Each generation rediscovers him. The tragedy of his death. What we lost. Tupac was only 25 when he died. Think about what we lost. Musically, he was at the peak of his creativity. All Eyes on Me showed he was evolving as an artist. We'll never know what albums he would have made, what collaborations we missed, how his sound would have matured. As an actor, he was just beginning his film career. He could have been one of the great actors of his generation. We'll never see the roles he could have played. As an activist, if he'd lived, would he have continued his social activism? Would he have become a political figure? Could he have been a voice for positive change? As a person, he never got to grow old, never got to have children, never got to see his impact on the world, never got to mature past 25. Tupac's death and Biggie's death 6 months later ended the East Coast/West Coast rivalry, but at a terrible cost. Two legends dead. Tupac and Biggie were the greatest rappers of their generation. Both were murdered in their 20s. Both killings remain controversial. The lesson. The rivalry showed how dangerous manufactured beef can become. Media, labels, and artists all played roles in escalating tensions. When entertainment becomes real violence, everyone loses. Hip-hop Gen After Tupac and Biggie died, hip-hop pulled back from the violent rhetoric. Artists became more careful about beefs escalating. The industry learned somewhat from the tragedy. Tupac's family. Afeni Shakur. Tupac's mother Afeni lived 20 years after her son's death. She managed his estate, released his posthumous albums, protected his legacy, fought for justice, never achieved in her lifetime. Died in 2016, never seeing anyone arrested for her son's murder. Sekiwa Shakur. Tupac's sister continues to advocate for him. She's spoken about the 2023 arrest. She wants justice for her brother. She keeps his memory alive. The 2023 arrest, what it means. The arrest of Kef D, 27 years later, is significant. Justice delayed. It took nearly 3 decades, but someone is finally being held accountable. This shows that cold cases can be solved, even after many years. It gives hope to other families waiting for justice. But justice incomplete. The actual trigger man is likely dead, Orlando Anderson. Others involved are dead. Kef D is the only one facing charges. Is one arrest enough? The trial will be historic. The trial will be watched worldwide. It will bring closure to some, controversy to others. Whatever the verdict, it marks a turning point in the case. Tupac's death spawned countless conspiracy theories. Why people don't want to believe the simple explanation. It's unsatisfying to think someone as important as Tupac died over a street fight. People want there to be a bigger reason. A conspiracy makes it seem more significant. The reality. The evidence points to gang retaliation. It was senseless violence over a beating and a chain. Sometimes the truth is simple and tragic. Remembering Tupac. What should we remember? His art. Tupac was a brilliant artist, rapper, actor, poet. His work will live on for generations. His music remains powerful and relevant. His message. He spoke truth to power. He gave voice to the voiceless. He wasn't perfect, but he was authentic. His humanity. Tupac was flawed. He made mistakes, got into conflicts, lived dangerously. But he was also intelligent, sensitive, caring. He was a real person, not just an icon. The lessons. Violence solves nothing. Tupac died over street beef. Biggie died in retaliation. All that violence accomplished was destroying 2 lives and devastating families. The code of silence protects killers. The refusal to cooperate with police allowed Tupac's killers to go free for 27 years. Street justice isn't justice, it's just more violence. Cooperation with police could have solved this case in 1996. Art can change the world. Despite his flaws and the violence that ended his life, Tupac's art made a difference. He spoke for millions who felt unheard. His legacy is the power of using your voice. Tupac Shakur was murdered on September 13, 1996, at age 25. For 27 years, no one was held accountable. In 2023, an arrest was finally made. But beyond the case, beyond the investigation, beyond the conspiracy theories, Tupac's legacy is this. He was an artist who spoke his truth. He was a voice for people who felt voiceless. He was complicated, controversial, and brilliant. His life was cut short by senseless violence. And his music, his words, his impact live on. For Tupac, for his family who waited 27 years for justice. For the millions who loved his music and felt his message. For everyone who believes in justice, even when it takes decades. The case is finally moving forward. The trial will come. And perhaps, finally, there will be some measure of justice for Tupac Shakur. But we can never get back what was lost. We can never hear the albums he didn't get to make. We can never see him grow old. We can never know who he would have become. All we have is what he left behind. And that will have to be enough. Before we close this investigation, I need to talk to you about something critical. This case is not just history. It's happening right now. The trial is ongoing. There will be developments. And you need to be part of this moment. Here's what I need you to do. Action number 1. Subscribe to Untold Cold Cases Files immediately. Click that subscribe button right now. Here's why this is urgent. The KefD trial is happening. This is one of the most significant criminal trials in hip-hop history. There will be court proceedings and testimonies, new revelations about what happened that night, possible additional arrests or information, a verdict that will make international headlines. When you subscribe to Untold Cold Cases Files, you'll be notified when we cover trial updates, verdict coverage, analysis of new evidence, reactions from Tupac's family and the hip-hop community. This is history unfolding in real time. You need to be subscribed to follow it. Subscribe right now. Don't miss this historic moment. Action number 2. Like this video. Here's why it actually matters. Hit that like button immediately. Here's what happens when this video gets high engagement. YouTube pushes it to hip-hop fans worldwide who need to know about the 2023 arrest. People who were in Las Vegas in 1996 who might have information. True crime enthusiasts following the trial. Younger generations discovering Tupac's music and needing context. Your like helps. Educate people about the case. Keep pressure on the justice system. Honor Tupac's legacy. Potentially reach witnesses who haven't come forward. One click. Massive impact. Do it now.
Action number 3. Share this video. Exactly how to do it. This is the most important action. Do it right now. On Instagram/TikTok. Post this to your story with caption. After 27 years, someone has finally been arrested for Tupac's murder. The trial is happening now. Everyone needs to know this story. Talk at Untold Cold Cases Files. Use hashtags. Hashtag Tupac, hashtag Tupac, hashtag Tupac Shakur, hashtag Las Vegas, hashtag Justice, hashtag Hip Hop, hashtag True Crime. On Twitter/X. Tweet: 27 years later, Tupac's murder case finally has movement. Kef D is on trial. This is the full story of what happened that night in Las Vegas and why it took so long to get justice. Hashtags: hashtag Tupac, hashtag Tupac, hashtag Kef D, hashtag Las Vegas, hashtag Hip Hop, hashtag Justice. Tak et Untold Cold Cases Files. On Facebook, post with message. If you grew up listening to Tupac, if you care about hip-hop history, if you believe in justice, watch this. After 27 years, someone is finally on trial for Tupac Shakur's murder. This video explains everything. Sharon, hip-hop, group, 90s music nostalgia groups, true crime communities, Las Vegas community groups. On Reddit, post 2. Un hip-hop hits. A unresolved mysteries. True crime. O Las Vegas. /music. Un shifop. Via text/email. Send directly to people who need to see this. Anyone who loves Tupac's music. Anyone interested in hip-hop history. Anyone who was in Las Vegas in September 1996. Anyone who cares about cold cases being solved. Anyone who believes justice matters. Personal messages get watched. Send this to specific people you know. Action number 4. Specific appeals. If you were in Las Vegas on September 7th, 1996, you might have information you don't realize is important. Even 27 years later, your memory might help. Think back. Were you on the Strip that night? Did you see the white Cadillac? Did you see anything suspicious? Did you hear gunshots? Did you see the aftermath? Even if you gave a statement in 1996, contact authorities again. Las Vegas Metropolitan Police, 702-828-3521. You can provide additional information. Your testimony might be needed for the trial. It's never too late to help. If you know Kef D or the others involved, maybe you're from Compton. Maybe you knew Orlando Anderson, Kef D, or the others. Maybe you've heard things over the years. If you have information, contact Las Vegas Police. Contact the prosecution. Your information could strengthen the case. Anonymous tips are accepted. If you're part of the hip-hop community, share this video in hip-hop spaces, music forums, hip-hop social media, artist communities, fan pages. Why it matters. Tupac's legacy belongs to hip-hop. The community needs to know the truth. Justice for Tupac is justice for hip-hop. This case shaped the culture. Everyone should know the full story. If you're a Tupac fan, honor his memory by learning the true story of what happened, sharing accurate information, not conspiracy theories, supporting the pursuit of justice, keeping his legacy alive through his music and message. Action number 5. Support the channel long-term. Don't just watch this one video and disappear. This month, share this video multiple times. Engage with our community in the comments. Follow us on all social media platforms. This year, watch for trial updates. Share updates when they come. Support the channel as we cover this developing story. Long-term, stay subscribed for other cold cases. Help us reach more people. Be part of a community that believes justice matters. The power you have right now. You might think, what can I do about a case that's 27 years old and already in the courts? Here's the answer. You can keep the world watching. Here's why that matters. When the world watches, prosecutors feel pressure to get it right. Judges know the case matters. Witnesses are more likely to come forward. Justice is more likely to be served. When cases fade from public attention, they get less resources. They get less priority. They can stall or fail. Your share keeps Tupac's case in the spotlight. Your engagement keeps people caring. Your action ensures justice has the best chance. A message to younger viewers. If you're discovering Tupac for the first time through this video, welcome to the story of one of the greatest artists who ever lived. Tupac wasn't just a rapper. He was a poet who spoke truth, an activist who fought for justice, an actor with incredible talent, a complex human being who made mistakes but always spoke his mind. Listen to his music. Start with Changes, Dear Mama, Keep Your Head Up, Listen to Me, Against the World, and All Eyes on Me albums. Understand the context of what he was saying. Appreciate the artistry and the message. Understand his legacy. He influenced every rapper who came after him. His impact on culture extends beyond music. His death was a tragedy that changed hip-hop forever. Share his story. Don't let his legacy fade. Tell others about who he was and what he stood for. Keep his name alive. A message to those who were there. If you lived through the 90s hip-hop era, you remember where you were when you heard Tupac died. You remember the shock, the grief, the sense of loss. You remember how it felt when hip-hop lost one of its brightest stars. Now, 27 years later, there's finally movement toward justice. Share this video with everyone who remembers. Let them know the case is finally progressing. Let them know someone is being held accountable. This is the closure the culture has waited decades for. A message about street justice versus real justice. This case illustrates a critical point. The no snitching code protected Tupac's killers for 27 years. Think about that. If witnesses had cooperated in 1996, the killers could have been arrested immediately. Justice could have been served decades ago. Tupac's family wouldn't have waited 27 years. Street justice isn't justice. It's just more violence. The code of silence only protects criminals and hurts communities. If you know something about any crime, especially murder, cooperating with police isn't snitching. It's doing the right thing. The verdict, whenever it comes. When the Kef D trial reaches its verdict, we will cover it on this channel. Make sure you're subscribed so you see the verdict analysis, what it means for the case, reactions from the family and community. What happens next? This story isn't over. Stay with us. Thank you for spending the last hour learning about Tupac Shakur's murder. Thank you for caring about justice. Thank you for honoring his legacy. But caring isn't enough. Watching isn't enough. Action is what matters. Right now, subscribe to this channel. Like this video. Share it on every platform you have. Text it to specific people who need to see it. Post it in hip-hop communities. Spread the word that justice is finally happening. This is history. This is justice. This is Tupac's legacy. Be part of it. This is Untold Cold Cases Files, where every victim matters, every case deserves justice, and every truth deserves to be told. For Tupac Amaru Shakur. For Afeni who died without seeing justice. For the family still searching for closure. For hip-hop. For justice. Tupac was murdered 27 years ago. Someone is finally being held accountable. Let's make sure the world is watching. Thank you. Now, go take action. Subscribe, like, share, and never forget, Tupac lives forever through his music, his message, and the pursuit of justice in his name. Thank you. Peace.